wasn't expecting you guys yet. Let me just see if I can hack into the Matrix here and is that not working? No? What about that? Ta-da! Alright, we're back in action. That's right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, theys and them, alien overlords, and anybody else watching to the next episode of Films People Saw 20 years ago. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're not just going in 60 seconds, we're going back in time 20 years ago to where we don't need roads, we just need couches. So, buckle up, we're about to talk about some films that I really love from this year, but wait! That's a lot of movies to talk about. No, okay, so we're not just going to talk about every movie that I love in the year 2000, and I'm not going to do a top 10, so why don't I just discuss some of my favorite movies featuring, starring, or directed by people of color. Because, ladies and gentlemen, in this time of world, people still need to be reminded that Black Lives Matter. So I have a small soapbox, so I'm going to use that to kind of emphasize some poignant points in an entertaining fashion. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, who else could I start off this series of episodes with than the man himself, Denzel Washington. And what was the movie? I can't remember the movie that he did in the year 2000. It was, I can remember, Remember the Titans. Yes, that was it. I remember now. I remember the Titans, directed by this guy, starring this guy. Now, I'm not going to get into the real life story that this movie depicts. However, I'm just going to say that I love this movie for how heartwarming and earnest of a performances that everybody involved and that the director really took to approach this story with, because in the wrong hands, this movie really could have been quite awful. But everybody involved handles this topic quite well. And we see Donald Faison? Donald Faison? I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but we know him from Scrubs, Ethan Suplee we know from My Name is Earl, and Ryan Gosling, of course, who we know from just about everything. However, this is one of the first movies for a lot of these actors, and you really see why and how these actors become the big names they are in this movie. And if you think about it, there really is no other film star quite like Denzel Washington, and definitely not as reliable or as consistent as Denzel. If you look back at any point in his career, you're always going to think he's on the rise, or he's just knocking them out of the park, or how is this guy so lucky? Does he have a horseshoe jam somewhere? Like, seriously, if you take any chunk of 5 years of this man's career, there might be 2 movies in there that you haven't seen and maybe 1 that you didn't hear of. For example, like let me just go through. Like, if we start at the top, we all know 1989 Glory. We all know that name now, but back then, not so well. Denzel didn't really become the household name he was to become until 1992's Malcolm X. But from there, if you look forward to 1993, he actually did 3 films. Quite the busy man. Garbage films, you might say, if he's making 3 in 1 year, but no. He did Much Ado About Nothing, he did The Pelican Brief, and Philadelphia, where he was filming for the 1995 The Crimson Tide, and then in 98 again he did 3 more films. He got Game, The Siege, The Bone Collector in 99, and then that brings us here to 2000's Remember the Titans. But we can't even stop there. Just to talk about Denzel, we can't even stop at Remember the Titans, because once we pick ourselves up just from being blown away by the sheer quality of those movies in such a short time span, we go from 2000 onwards, we go to Training Day, John Q, Antoine Fisher, Out of Time, Man on Fire, Manchurian Candidate, Inside Man, Deja Vu, American Gangster, Book of Eli, Unstoppable, Safe House, Flight, Two Guns, The Equalizer, Magnificent Seven, Fences, and The Equalizer 2, his first sequel ever. And if you're going to have a first sequel ever, that's a pretty gosh darn good sequel to have. Sure, it's not the most amazing movie ever, but it's really fun and it's really good, and he gives an amazing performance. So, although Malcolm Reynolds will always be my captain, Coach Herman Boone will always be Coach to me. Denzel Washington will always be Coach. Denzel Washington is a legend. An absolute legend. And Remember the Titans is one of the most inspirational films, and its message of unity and respect for each other, no matter the color of someone's skin, is something that we all really need to pay attention to in our regular everyday lives. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to get too much more further into this movie because I want you to go watch this on yourselves and really just enjoy this performance from Denzel and from everybody else involved. So I don't want to say lighthearted, but it is such an inspirational and heartwarming movie that you just feel good after it. And if you don't feel good, well then you got some things to think about. And then it's a much well-needed message that you need to hear. And so, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, these and thems, let's head on over to our fun facts section where we're going to discuss a couple of interesting things about this movie that I found. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, these and thems, it's time for fun facts. Now, I have more so interesting facts in this case, and I only have 3 that I want to bring up this time. And the first one being the scene where Coach makes all the players not divide up on the bus, rather, but mix up on the bus, where they're trying to go whites on this side and blacks on this bus, and he's like, no, enough of that, not on my bus, not on my watch, you son of a church. We're going to get to know each other here. That actually happened. That legit, he made the buses mix, he made the camps mix, which was fantastic. The other thing that actually happened in this movie was the scene where Coach takes them to the War Monument, gives them this big pep-up speech. That actually happened, however, it was more of a tour guide. It was actually a tour guide, not more of a tour guide, it was a legit tour guide. They went on tour to the War Monument, and the tour guide gave them all the information. It wasn't Coach, but they switched it up to make it more dramatic. Fitting, I'm okay with it. The other thing that they changed in this movie is a little bit more, whoa, life is more ridiculous than cinema. And that being the scene where they throw a brick through Coach Boone's window. That actually happened, however, it wasn't a brick that was thrown through, it was a toilet, and the director thought that people might see this as a joke and taking the serious situation not so serious. And so the director said, let's make sure that people don't think we're making fun of this situation. So they changed it from a toilet to a brick. I'm just here to remind you of great movies that you need to watch. If you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it, you need to rewatch it. It's just something that's fun, it's enjoyable, it's lighthearted, and it is definitely fitting for these times. And no, that is not fake news. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, these and thems, thank you so much for hanging out with me again here on Films People Saw 20 years ago. That was Remember the Titans, and I hope you remember to go and watch that movie. We'll catch you next time on another episode where I discuss another film. I mean, that's kind of the premise of the show, right? So, I just don't want to spoil the surprise of the next movie. But I can give you a hint that it's not the final movie I'm going to be talking about. Let me just put it that way. That's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, ladies and thems, alien overlords, for joining me here today. And until next time, you keep your stick on the ice. And we'll catch you on the next reel.